Alright guys, what's up and welcome back for another casual how-to guide for Diablo. In this video, I'm going to be going over the Mystic and Enchanting, and also kind of going over primary stats, secondary stats, and kind of what to be looking for on different pieces of gear as you're kind of improving your DPS and whatnot. So, as a basis, right, whenever you're looking at enchanting gear, I usually look at objectively at each piece. Like whenever I first start enchanting, I'm taking off any sort of like unuseful items. But one thing to note here and how the enchanting process works is whenever you throw an item in here, you see all of the slots that you can replace, right? These two at the bottom are going to be your secondary, right? Which shows on the tooltip there. So whenever you actually, so basically you can't roll this thorns damage off for crit chance because it's a secondary stat. And that's kind of the difference in starting to learn like what secondary and primary is. But before you ever enchant anything, you should always click this button here, and it'll show you these are all the possible things that can be swapped for this slot. Now let's actually grab an item that I don't mind messing up. Let's see. Nope, that one's good. Just need some trash. Actually, you know what? We'll use this puzzle ring because that's going to make a vault anyway. Alright, so using this puzzle ring as an example, as you can see it has strength bit, attack speed, and reduces recourse cost reduction. Now what will happen here is, let's say that I want to take this attack speed off and I want to get crit damage, right? I'm going to select the property. It's going to give me 3 options, or it's going to give me the original option and 2 additional ones. So I can either pick an option or I can just re-enchant it. But for the sake of this video, we'll have some fun. We'll go to 100 resist all, right? Boom, that item is now enchanted. So what does that mean? Now it's restricted. Now there's things you can't do with it. So if I was going to go throw this back in here and re-enchant it again, I can't replace any of the other slots on this gear. I can't roll off strength. I can't roll off vitality. I can literally only keep replacing the one slot that I picked. So I can keep just going through it, maybe till I get crit damage right there. Right? And what another trick I do is, what most people will do is they'll like go to replace a property and it doesn't work. Like I just pick it up and drop it back down here, which will reset. So if I don't have to really worry about picking anything. It speeds it up a little bit. But it's getting off track. Let's say you messed up, right? You messed up, you really just need to roll, a different slot off of this. You need to reset this item. The only way to do that, unfortunately, is to reforge. So if you go over here, we're wasting a lot of mats on this puzzle ring. But let's say we're gonna go in here, we're gonna reforge, right? Because doing a reforge is gonna reset it, right? It's gonna give you an entirely new item, just as if it just dropped in a greater rift or whatever. And that's gonna reset it, right? Now I can actually go in and start over essentially. So whenever I'm looking at gear, if it already has really good rolls, be really careful with what you replace, because you could lock that item in, and if you do make a mistake, you might have to end up reforging it several times or hoping it drops again so that you can kind of make the right decision again. So like here, what would I do if I was going to enchant this? If I was going to wear this ring, dex, attack speed, 10% life, right? Well, chances are if that AAS, I'm not going to use attack speed on a resource based build, but the least useful stat on here is probably the 10% life, right? So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to look, well, I can replace it with crit. Crit's going to be great. Crit damage is good. Hell, I'll take even vitality or all resist, right? So that's, a prime slot to replace. As far as the attack speed here, you can still get crit damage, crit chance, all resist, all that stuff like that. And look at that, you can even roll the socket off if you want, right? So just make sure you're looking at what the possible stats are for any piece of gear that you're actually trying to, replace. Now what we're going to do now is I'm going to go through each slot on your character sheet, right? Because whenever you're trying to put together builds or you're trying to, enchant, you're enchanting the big picture, right? You're not necessarily trying to get, one piece to do all the work. You're going to, like for crit chance, you're going to try to get a little bit of crit chance on your rings and your gloves and all this stuff. I'm going to go through each slot here and kind of give you an idea of like what I look for as far as stats, and we'll just kind of use this Shadow Mantle build here as an example. So for shoulders, right, I want cooldown reduction for my vengeance and everything on this build. So Shoulders are a really big piece for me for cooldown reduction. Also good for all resist, dex, and bit, right? That's what we're looking at. Certain builds will allow you to have like skill damage here as well. So as far as when you're like looking at where to put all your abilities, shoulders, great place for cooldown reduction, all resist, all that good stuff. Helms, let's go to there. Helms are good for crit chance. You know, you have skill damage there as well, and you know, dex and vit. And then your amulets, they can have damage. They can have, you know, your primary stat, attack speed, crit damage, crit chance, you know, elemental damage. All that good stuff can be applied to those. Bracers can have elemental damage, crit chance, you know, dex, vit, and then going on to rings. Rings can have, you know, crit, and primary stat. They can have damage on them as well. They can have attack speed. They can have cooldown reduction. Chest pieces, things get, and when you get to the defensive stats or the defensive slots, things get a little different. Like your chest pieces can have like your primary stat, your vitality, your life percentage. You can have skill damage on here as well, or you can have bonus to elites or, you know, elite reduction damage. Same goes for the belt, you know, unless you're using like a witching hour. Witching hour will actually have crit damage on it, but usually defensive stats are going here. Armor, percent life, vitality. You know, you can have skill damage here as well. Pants, you can have skill damage, also all those, you know, defensive skills. Boots, you can have skill damage as well, still kind of a defensive slot. So if you're offhand, you're looking for like, you know, quivers, you know, shields, all that stuff. You can actually have quite a bit of different items on here. You can have crit chance, you can have attack speed, you can have, you know, resource regeneration, elemental damage. So usually what I'm trying to lean for on my offhand is going to be like crit. I want to make sure I get a socket on there as well. And you can't actually use a gift to put a socket on offhands, which sucks. But definitely trying to get like your elemental damage there. You're trying to get your crit there. You can put cooldown here as well. Your weapon, you're looking for like, you know, that crit or that damage percentage, you know, your primary stat. You can have either attack speed or cooldown reduction. You know, and I don't really roll, and then also, you know, I use crit damage as far as an emerald in my socket there as well. Gloves are probably my favorite gear piece in the game because it allows me to really stack a lot of like heavy hitters on here. So like dexterity, all resist, crit damage, crit chance, and it, you know, you can have cooldown reduction here as well. But yeah, that's kind of all of the slots and kind of like what I look for whenever I'm starting to like figure out where to place gear. And with that being said, when you look at, you know, your crit damage or your crit chance overall, and, you know, at the beginning, don't try to get like max rolls and everything. Just try to spread load it out as much as possible, and really just kind of look at each piece objectively. Like what can this piece do for me, right? Where can I get my, if I need a lot of cooldown reduction, you know, I can get it in Paragon, but like I need to get, you know, some on, do I need to get some on the weapon, on the offhand? Do I need to get it also on my rings and on my shoulders, right? You know, you really kind of like give each slot of the character a job, and that's what that, like, so like my shoulders, they are primarily for cooldown and for all resist. That's their job, right? And just like my gloves, like we want double crit on there, they're going to be handling a lot of the crit, but you're just going to have to like look at everything objectively and as a whole. And whenever you're enchanting, just make good decisions. You know, make sure you don't like, you know, cover yourself up where you can't, you know, replace something down the road if you need to. And if you have to, like I said, just reforge it until you get good rolls. That's why it's nice to actually have, you know, a good natural item that has a lot, probably 3 of the 4 rolls you need on it already. Because kind of a rule of thumb here is whenever I look at pieces, I want to make it like that item should be like 80% what I need, right? I should be, the less work you can do at the mystic on an item, the better that item is, right? And when you get later in, you know, progression, you know, you might be going to Mystic just to increase a stat to its max. And if you want to check what the max rolls are on per piece of gear, roll over a piece of gear, hold down control. It'll show you the numbers, the min, the max it can roll to. Like here, all resist, it can roll from 110 to 130. I'm at 126. It's pretty good. Just like crit chance, 9.5 to 10. Not bad. And you'll start learning kind of like what, you know, the high end and low end is for stats when you start really, you know, using the mystic and everything, because the mystic will show you as well right here what the min and max are for everything. But anyway, I hope this video has helped you and kind of given you some idea about enchanting and, you know, primary stats and all that stuff. It will help you, you know, break the plateau and, you know, damage or whatever the problem you're having in Diablo 3. If you like Diablo content or Blizzard content in general, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button to see more, and let me know in the comments section if you have any other questions regarding, you know, primary stats or secondary stats or where you should be putting stuff on, you know, different slots. I'll do my best to try to answer as many questions as possible. But with that being said, I'll see you guys later, and take it easy.